What's up, kids? Welcome to the first episode ever of Hashtag Homework with Nico. Woo! Now, again, I haven't been in school for a very long time, and the questions that you were tweeting at me, they weren't that easy. But I'm gonna do my best to see what I can do, and hopefully help you guys out and have some fun along the way. So, welcome. All right, y'all. So our first question comes from Sharis Visser, at Sharis Visser. So she asks me. So I'm gonna do an easy-ish math question, but I do love math. Math is my favorite subject, and yeah. But this is an easy-ish one, kind of. But multiply and simplify y squared plus 7y plus 2 times y plus 6. So let's do this. First off, I'm actually going to do something very interesting here, and I'm just going to, not that interesting, but I'm gonna rewrite it. I'm gonna make it parenthesis 2 plus 7y plus y squared, close the parenthesis, and then put 6 plus y. Why, you ask? I don't know, because I want to. Alright, so I think of when I do this, I always go like, I just think of like, boom, 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 boom. It will make sense when I do it. Watch this. Ready? So, you're going to do 2 times 6, multiply across, so that's 12, plus 2 times y, which is 2y. 2y. Close the parenthesis, and put an addition sign. Boom. So that's the next part. It looks like that. Then we're going to times the 7y times the 6, and the 7y times the y. 7y times 6 equals 42y, plus times 7 times y, and that is 7y squared. 7y squared, boom. Close parenthesis, add an addition sign. Bam. Next part, y squared times 6 times y plus y squared times y. So, y squared times 6 equals 6y squared plus y cubed. Y squared times y equals y cubed. Now, bam, there we have that. And now we're gonna add like terms. So I'm gonna have a 12. There's no like terms other just like the 12. So we're gonna have a 12 plus. We're gonna add the y's together. There is a 2y and a 42y. So that comes out to 44y. 44y plus. Now let's add the squares. There is a 7y squared and a 6y squared, so that makes 13y squared. Plus, now we're gonna add a y cubed. Are there any more y cubes? I don't see any more, so we're just gonna have a plus y cubed. Plus y cubed. And excuse the 4, but that is 12 plus 44y plus 13y squared plus y cubed. And thank you, Sharis Visser. I hope this helped out a little bit. I'm sure you figured it out already, but thanks for giving me something to do. Woo! Y'all, question number 2. We're gonna go and do some little APUSH, AP US History. Y'all know the acronym? Alright, so this comes from Emily with the heart. And her Twitter handle is at @mpage. Oh, Page, heart that name. Underscore. And her question to me is, what role did disillusionment play with World War I in regards to the start of World War II? Now, I'm gonna look down occasionally because I have my notes here, and watch this pen roll. Woo. All right, so I wasn't the best at history. I told you math was my thing, but I'm gonna try anyways. Let's do this. So World War I. Dates 1914, 1918. I'm gonna keep moving. Watch this. Oh, I'm moving. Oh. Okay, so beginning of the Great War. In June 1914, a Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip, he assassinated the Austrian heir Archduke Ferdinand and his wife in Sarajevo, Bosnia-Herzegovina, in Austro-Hungarian province. And Austria, they pretty much issued a warning to Serbia to let the Austrian, oh, I keep saying Australian, no, they're an Austrian, Nico. The Austrian investigators to examine the evidence. If Serbia didn't agree, it would pretty much result in war, which it eventually did. Germany declared war on Russia and France in early August. Germany launched massive invasions on France through Belgium. I mean, it was just insane. Germans, yeah. I could say a couple of German words. Let's see, Wiener Schnitzel, Farfignuten, right? I don't know. German people, help me out. I don't know. So we have our two teams, you know, like teams, basketball teams. You know, we got the goodies and the baddies. I don't necessarily think anything was good or bad, but we have our two sides. We have the Central Powers, which consisted of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and later the Ottoman Empire, and we have our allies, the Allies, which was France, Britain, Russia, and then it later included Italy and the U.S., and they were also called the Triple Entente. All right, now I'm just gonna fast forward through most of the war because what happened? There was invasions, there was collapses of governments. The Russian government was collapsing, and by the end of it, the German Empire, the Russian Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and the Ottoman Empire, they pretty much didn't exist anymore. The borders were redrawn, several independent nations restored. Fast forward just to the end of it because, I mean, there's a lot that happened in World War, but I want to get to what your question actually was. But pretty much in the war, you know, governments were collapsing, Russian government collapsed, there were nations invading other nations, but by the end of it, the Central Powers, they didn't exist anymore. They were just gone. They were just like poof. Now, the Treaty of Versailles, this was negotiated between January and June of 1919 in Paris, pretty much written by the Allies, and it really didn't include any contribution by the Germans, but it pretty much placed the sole blame of World War I on Germany. The Germany obliged, they had to pay reparation to the Allies, which equated $31 billion over 30 years. Germany was forced to accept really harsh military restrictions and loss of territory, and they were left out of League of Nations like FOMO, #FOMO. With all of that being said about the Treaty of Versailles, on the NBCLearn.com website, I found a transcript by Professor Alan Brinkley from Columbia University. He writes, "There was a tremendous disillusionment, particularly among intellectuals and educated people, about the war itself and what many people believe was the fraudulent reasons for the war and for America's entry in the war. I think most of all, though, the war was disillusioning to people because it was such an extraordinary catastrophe in human history. 9 million people died in World War I, and it was the greatest catastrophe, I think, in the history of mankind. Maybe since the Black Death and until World War II. So there was a kind of sense of shock and disbelief about the horror that this war had unleashed, and that's, I think, contributed to disillusionment. But there was a more particular reason, which was the sense that the war had achieved nothing. The war had ended nothing. The war had solved no problems. In fact, it had created new problems, and that is that the United States had entered the war for no good reason, and had been somehow tricked into entering the war." End quote. Interesting thoughts, Professor Alan Brinkley, and so this may answer your question to the disillusionment after World War I and as to what led to World War II. Now, to end my thought on this, with the disillusionment that came from the war, it led to a lot of people just giving in to the aggressors in order to keep the peace. It led to U.S. just piecing out because they were discouraged by the fact that Europe was unable to pay their war debt, and they just went into isolationism. Peace out. It also led to just the Treaty of Versailles. It left a really sour taste in a lot of countries' mouths, and all of this adversity that was going on, and all these debts, and all of this radical ideas that were floating around, eventually led to something that was called fascism in Italy. You know, Benito Mussolini in Italy, and then we all know what happened in Germany with Hitler. Hitler went and he tried to go into Europe, create his own superior race. You know, you all know about all that, and it eventually led to the worldwide Great Depression. Just the cost of having to carry out World War I, and the cost to rebuild the Western Europe after all the years of fighting, and all the debt that came in part from all of this, and the Treaty of Versailles, and it's just all of this increased the worldwide debt, and the world was unable to come back from it. And just to go back to what Professor Alan Brinkley said, the war didn't really help anything. It didn't solve anything. It just caused more problems. And it led to many people questioning, like, why did the U.S. even have to enter it? So that's my thoughts on this question. So I hope that helped you out a little bit, Emily with the heart. Peace. All right, so I have one last question to answer just before I head out. So it's a random question as stated by Mushroom Power Cat at Book Bands for Life. Random question. I'm starting to stress over work that still needs to be done and tests that are coming up. I'm not getting good sleep and it's starting to affect my behavior towards others. Do you have any methods on how to relax? Because I really need it. Well, Mushroom Power Cat. So a buddy of mine in college, he would tell me all the time that, study for no more than like 2 hours at a time. Just study, and then you need to take a break. You need to get away from it. Don't fry your brain out. Also, one more thing is don't cram. If you can avoid cramming, don't do it. I mean, it's okay to do it, but I suggest not cramming. It really bothers me. I don't like, yeah. And then my last thing is to do some meditations. Take 10 minutes out of your day to meditate and really just focus on yourself and focus on what you need, on what needs to get done in that day. You compartmentalize everything, make a list of all your priorities, and then you do it. That helped me out. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this. I hope you guys had a good time. I sure did. I'm gonna try and answer more questions. Y'all's questions are hard, man. I felt like I was in high school and college again. Whew. But thank you. This was fun. Peace, love, and I don't know, whatever other word sounds cool. Yeah, alright. Peace.